Here's a quick tip to help you understand certain things in music theory and how you can actually relate that to the music itself and visualize it on the keyboard. When you're trying to learn a new piece of theory, how a chord's built, how a scale's built, or trying to analyze how something's working in a song or a piece of music, which is an important thing you should be doing to develop so you can describe how that sound is made, for example, and recreate it yourself. Or maybe you're just trying to refresh your memory because there's a lot to learn with music. Sometimes you need reminders of things or more experience of using it for it to sink in. You'll often need to go back and gain some clarity over how things are working. So a really useful trick to make things clear intellectually and visually is to, if it's not already, bring it to the key of C. So there's one main reason why that works, but there's a bunch of stuff that it helps with. So the main reason that works really well is that we're often trying to analyze stuff in terms of what intervals we have used. So that could be the intervals that build a certain kind of scale, a new chord you've learned, the intervals you've used in a melody. You can say things like, oh, using the second against that chord adds a really nice color to the sound. It could also be where in the scale you're starting chords from as well. And that might also go out the scale too sometimes. So in the key of C, the major scale is just all the white notes. So when you know how to label your intervals, we can see clearly that that nice, neat, straight line uses all the major intervals and the two perfect intervals. Therefore, if it's going to be anything else, it's visually obvious because it's going to be using one of the black keys. So we can literally see it going out. When anything deviates from that straight line, it's easy to spot with the eye what's happening and keep track of it when you're actually playing music as well. So the black notes are all these minor intervals, and this odd one out, the tritone, which has a few other names. I've got a full video on naming intervals if you need. Now I know sometimes you can name these intervals other names, but we're just talking about the fundamentals at the moment. So if you have a major chord, C major for example, you describe the chord as being built with a root, a major third and a fifth, and it's easy to see that this is a root, a major third and a fifth in this key. With a minor chord, it's easy to see that we're changing the major third to a minor third. With a diminished, it's easy to see that we're also flattening the 5, giving us a diminished fifth. With 7 chords, it's easy to see which 7 we're adding on. With any of the common variations of the minor scale, for example, or any other kind of scale or mode you learn, it's much easier to visualize what intervals are constructing that scale. And that's really important because understanding what goes into the scale is the most important way you can think about what it is, as well as how it sounds. Now with experience, when you get really good at seeing intervals in all different keys because they keep changing shape, that might not be quite so necessary, but when you're first starting, I know that's tricky because I was there as well. So with one type of chord, for example, in all 12 keys, the spacing between the notes is always identical. That's why it's the same type of chord. So if you count how many half steps, for example, from note to note, it will be identical. But put that on the keyboard, when you transpose something, because of the layout of the keyboard, the shapes all get jumbled up, the shapes morph. You can get visually confused into thinking it's something different when it's not. And of course you end up having to use different fingers and stuff to accommodate those different shapes, which makes it even more confusing. So in the key of D major, for example, the major third is black and the minor third is white, but in the key of C major, the major third is white and the minor third is black. But those minor thirds are still the same distance apart. 1, 2, 3 half steps. 1, 2, 3 half steps. And when you expand that, there's lots of different shapes all over the place. And until you have enough experience and practice with it, it's really confusing to find stuff quickly. So when you bring it to the key of C, because you can see it easier, you're making your understanding a lot clearer, which is really important because we're trying to internalize this stuff as part of our vocabulary so we can become more fluent playing music. So this helps you get that understanding, and you can do it with chords, you can do it with scales, you can do it with a melody. You could do it with chord progressions. You can think I'm starting a chord from note 5, from note 3. Oh, this chord here starts on the flat 6. It goes out of the scale, even if it's just a note that goes out the scale. Now, of course, there's other ways that you can analyze things like that sometimes, but to start with, I think it's just really useful just to spot where in the main scale that you're using things are happening. So just a quick bit of advice there. If you're learning any new type of chord or scale or anything, do it in the key of C to really understand what's going on with it. And remember to bring things back to the key of C if you need a refresh or a recap. I've recently started an Instagram account where I'm going to be posting more quick tips like this. So follow me over there. And on this YouTube channel, as well as doing quick videos like this, I also do full in-depth tutorials too, on all things related to developing your piano playing and your musicianship. Please give the video a like if that was helpful, and let me know in the comments if it was, or if you still have any questions. And subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any other content. Thanks for watching.